and it's hot.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners special call meeting for Monday, May the 19th, 2025 at 9 a.m. We're meeting this morning to follow up on a matter concerning the Marshallese New Beginning Church located at 8123 George Hildenbrand School Road. As the board will recall, during our April 10th quasi-judicial hearing, we affirmed and modified an order to vacate issued by Chief Building Inspector. As part of that decision, we allow the church a 30-day continuance to submit documentation showing progress toward code compliance. Today's meeting is to review that documentation, which was submitted by licensed general contractor Kurt Abey on behalf of the church by the May 12th deadline. Based on our review, the board may determine whether an extension of the order's deadline is warranted or if other action is appropriate. Before we begin, I want to clarify for the record that today's meeting is not a continuation of the quasi-judicial hearing. The board held a full quasi-judicial proceeding on April 10th, 2025, which included sworn testimony, formal presentation of evidence, and the opportunity for cross-examination. Today is a follow-up administrative action to review documentation submitted by Mr. Kurt Abey on behalf of the Marshallese New Beginnings Church as required by the board's modified order to vacate. The purpose of this meeting is to determine whether that documentation supports amending the original order. No new testimony will be taken, no evidence will be entered into the record, and there will be no public comment at this hearing today. So, Madam Clerk, I would note that all commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Burns, who was unable to be with us previously, so therefore he will not participate in today's meeting. Also, Martha Thompson, our outside counsel, is present. Pastor Tommy Libuji or legal representative, if present. Mr. Kurt Abey, community member, general contractor, is present. And we also have interpreter Bethany Fisher is present. Bethany, is Bethany here? Who's doing the interpreting today?
Yeah. Hi, Elise Berman.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you got that?
Elise Berman, B-E-R-M-A-N. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Would ask you to be sure to silence your mobile devices. Ask all speakers to activate their microphones before speaking. or for the YouTube recording. Also present is our staff today. Chief Building Inspector is present. Also, our Planning Director, Alan Lyons, is present. Mr. Holden is present. All right. At this time, gentlemen, we've had the agenda for several days. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 4-0, Madam Clerk. We do have just the one item for decision in front of us today. We're going to consider the documentation that was presented, and in so doing, I'm going to ask our Chief Building Inspector to come and Council, do we need to swear him in this morning, or is
Yes.
it? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll swear in Mr. Holden.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. I would note that our clerk received the required documentation that came from Mr. Aby at 4:17 on May the 12th. The materials included cost estimates, evidence of financing, architectural drawings, and other relevant items. This morning, we'll hear a summary of the submission and then discuss whether the board finds these documentation sufficient to warrant an extension to the order to vacate or other action. We may also consider whether any conditions should be added as part of that decision. And again, no testimony will be taken and no new evidence is being entered into the record. So what we're hearing this morning is simply a report based on the documentation that we received on May the 12th. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Holden, if he would, to give us a summary of that documentation. Gentlemen, I'll just note for those in the room that all of the commissioners received this documentation. We've had opportunity to review it, look at it. And so we'll just begin with Mr. Holden's assessment as to whether or not those documents and that proposal could meet the necessary requirements at the church's location.
So we've taken a look at it. We've got architect stamp drawings. We've got a licensed electrician. We have a licensed contractor, and he's presented that, and we felt that with what he had turned in on our side would meet the code and work to begin with y'all's decision. We due to the warmer, we've got warmer temperatures now, which puts a lower risk on the load on the electrical part. The electrical parts have been separated. The church is separate from the annex building now. And with the new electrician coming in, I've talked to him, Eddie Preston, and he's saying that we could go through and make all the other hazards safe while it's under construction. We've looked at the sprinkler system, and it says, the architect says, the reason he done a performance evaluation and the structure is not close to the other structures, and we can separate them with firewalls. And he's showing this in his plans. The electrician, working close with him, has even made it safer as of today.
All right, Mr. Holden, what is your assessment as to the length of time it might take to make these?
I've spoken with the contractor, Kurt Aby, and we've looked at from 6 months to 3 months per 2 units. And there's a total of 8.
Okay. What about the use of the building? It's currently classified as gathering, I believe, and we're moving it to residential. Is that going to require any additional zoning, or is it currently zoned to meet those requirements?
It would be okay in the zoning. I've spoken with zoning, and they said it would be okay for residential.
Okay. All right. Any questions, gentlemen, for Mr. Holden and the documentation? You have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Kurt, you're saying there's 8 units needed, correct? Is that correct?
There's actually 9, and to keep it below the number needed, they're going to go at 8, and one of them would be a mechanical room for the water heaters and washer and dryer.
And it's taken 6 months to do 2 units.
We were just talking about a number of 6 months or 3 months, somewhere in that range, and that's after a permit is pulled.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
So best case scenario, when would all units be done? But best case? All 8?
Yeah, I would have to ask Kurt. That would be, up to the contractor. I wouldn't know that answer.
Okay, why don't we go ahead, Mr. Lady, if you don't mind us coming and swear you in, and that way you can respond.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, and Tommy, if you don't mind, come and be sworn in as well.
Do you promise to tell the whole truth? Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So before we take information from Mr. Abe, I think we'd just like to hear for the record from Tommy that Mr. Abe is representing the church this morning in his comments.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, there's something I just got to ask. I want to get something cleared up. Tommy, you understand everything we're saying, right? You're an interpreter yourself, right? This has kind of thrown me a curve from the whole beginning. I understand you have an interpreter. I know there's a lot of different things like that. But you're an interpreter yourself, and so you understand everything we're saying, correct?
On the basis of Bible thing, I can interpret, but some case here, I don't understand, so that's why I need.
Sure, I understand the legal things. I'm funny about that kind of stuff, but you do understand and when we're talking, so, okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Abe, could you address the,
He says he understands some of what you're saying, but not everything.
Thank you.
Oh, he says he understands some of what you're saying, but not everything.
okay. All right, Mr. Abe, if you could kind of address, we've seen your plans and kind of have a concept of what you got in mind. I think the board's most concerned is what time frame, how quickly can this move and how quickly can we get this completed?
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank y'all for considering our proposal. I really appreciate that. The first two is going to take a little bit longer because we've got to get temporary housing set up. We've got to get utilities hooked to that, and it's going to take just a little bit of time to make sure that's all functional. Then we'll get 2 families out into those, and then we can immediately start on refabbing those 2 apartments. And so the first two's probably going to ask for Steve probably come up with that 3 to 6 months. I don't think it'll take 6 months. I think we can do them in 3 months, but I hate to tie it to a deadline like that. We're going to do it as quickly as we can. And a lot of that will do with my subcontractors that I have working to make sure, because they're going to have to pull off some other jobs as we're doing this to get it to go. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. But I don't plan on dragging this out. I'd like the sooner the better.
Mr. Chairman, so in the meantime, to eliminate the liability, where are the families going to stay?
Well, I have acquired, well, I hadn't purchased any yet, but I have found some temporary housing we can bring in, and each one of those are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and they will house 2 families. We were going to place it at the back of the church, or back of the main building back there. It actually wouldn't be visible from the road, and it would be closer to the sewer and to the electrical hookup. So
But what about that's going to cover all the families?
no, we were going to do 2 at a time. We were going to pull 2 families out, empty 2 apartments, put them in this temporary housing until those 2 are refurbished, and then put them back in, move the next 2 families in. Otherwise, we would have to buy more temporary housing.
Yeah, I understand that, but what we're going to do with the other people, where are they going to stay?
Well, I was hoping we would address that.
That's where we've addressed bringing in the electrician to make everything safe on the electrical side in those units.
And those would suffice with our standards and stuff for?
Well, I actually had my electrician to draw up a proposal of how that would work, rewiring the building. We would have to start at the farthest away.
But in the meantime, I mean, you can't stay there when this is going on, can you? I mean,
Not in the two that they're working on.
okay, so, but we're gonna be able to handle all the families at one time. I guess that's the thing, because it's gotta collectively be out of the way, right? For us to be liable.
The two apartments would be emptied out, and that, when you empty those two out, you're gonna lessen the electrical load on the rest of the building, because it's already separated from the large building. And then we agreed to go in and fix any loose wires or ground fault receptacles or whatever in the 6 that people would be living in to help lower any risk that you're talking about.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. I'm all for it, but I just think, where everybody gonna stay at during this process? I mean, they've got to have some place to live now, correct? I mean, am I wrong here? I mean, they've got to have somewhere now till this stuff gets resolved, whether people step up from the community or house them or, do old school, I don't know. But I mean, in the meantime, they can't stay there, correct?
And that's where he's bringing in the temporary housing.
Yeah, but that's only for 2
Yeah.
families. We got 8, right? We got 8 people.
We have 8 apartments, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, that's my question. That's my thoughts.
Other questions, comments?
I want to clarify. Now, you said that the other apartments that will still have occupants in them, you are going to have the electrician to repair those up to standard enough for them to remain in those while the repairs are being done. Is that correct? I think I heard you say that.
And in the last couple of weeks, what has happened, we've met the electrician there, we've separated the church from the annex building, which has dropped the load tremendously. And then now, we're gonna go through, before that we would ever allow this, go through with the licensed electrician, check out every unsafe item and make sure that he fixes those to make this work.
So if we would approve this today, Mr. Aby, would that mean you could go over there immediately today and start drawing permits?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So if this would be approved today, could we expect you, since it's only like before 10 o'clock, you could head over here
Well, it would
and
be a
draw
process.
permits today, or what?
Well, it would be a process we have to go through, because we've got to go through environmental health to start with, and then we're gonna have to get temporary housing in, and we're probably gonna have to get a temporary power pole for the house. So, I mean, yeah, I'm ready to move, but, I probably can't I doubt if Steve's gonna let me pull any permits till we get some of this done.
Other questions, comments from the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Holden, I just want to make sure I'm very clear going forward. Even though we're doing some things, or they're doing some things to make this a safer environment, in this process, as 2 are being worked on, 2 families will be in safe housing, is what I understand. The remaining families in the other 6 apartments, if you want to call them that, are still going to be in a building that does not pass North Carolina code.
Yeah, on the electrical side, yes, sir.
So even if we make that a safer environment, I would think that the county has a great liability if something were to happen. Some folks in the community would say, well, they've been there for several years and nothing's happened. It's a great concern that the possibility exists that potentially we are not following North Carolina law.
What would protect us, Commissioner, is with a permit pulled from the electrician and going through and making it safe, it would actually fall on a licensed electrician on that side, making sure that all that's safe.
Thank you.
Because our biggest safety items is the electrical.
So are you saying that there's not other hazards that exist after the electrical that would be unsafe? Because it seems like North Carolina law is pretty clear. I'm no attorney, but I have spent some time trying to research it. And we're all sworn to uphold the law, which I'm not sure at this point if we did that in the first meeting. But my point is, I have great concern and care for these people. They're part of our community. But at the other side of this, just like any law enforcement officer in here, sometimes they have to arrest people or follow the law when they don't want to. And so I'm just saying, even if we get the electrical to pass code, or is there still liability of unsafe conditions?
The other items were like minimum, there wasn't enough fixtures like showers and kitchen appliances that are minimum code. So those things we've seen are a health issue. So, but they're living there now, and we was trying to figure out how to place them. And that's why he's looking to see if he can get more units also, which he didn't tell you yet. But he's trying to get more units to place some more of them as we go along.
Yeah, so I guess, and I know I'm getting into the weeds here, but this is really serious stuff.
Can you guys stop for a second?
Yes.
Just,
Iba, family ko ba dia ko apply pulo ko sa housing. Yang ora ni ni rugi rugi ora na por chobi. Anga family ko ro ora ma ko do lo mo em. Yang ini je no. Baik kat dong wi mo ni dia ni ai to ro ke ro je la ni jo me ro de ro lo ko sa housing.
Impar.
Yang paling
Ba impar.
ngaji lang ta ko ro ba ko ro ka ro. Alan. Iba any work. Dia per housing. Apply an housing. Yang ngai rumah ya kamu ribet kamu juga dan ngai produk juga lalu berkata ngai berlalu.
Impar roh kami yang
Yang
masyarakat.
biar ngai aku kuasa.
He says that the families are applying for low-cost housing elsewhere right now, and they're waiting to find out, and they don't know. But if there's a problem and it comes through, they can go live there for a bit while you're working on it, depending, and then return. But they don't know if it will come through or not. But they've applied.
Okay, thank you. Just to continue, is environmental law, environmental code, is that law, is that state law?
It would be.
And so I guess my long-time thought is, okay, we make this safer place electrically speaking. It would pass code for those other families in the 6 units. Because we failed to enforce an environmental law as a quasi-judicial board who makes a ruling, and 5 years from now, something that was present in those structures were to cause a long-term debilitating disease, some future board could be, and the county, actually, and Madam Attorney, if I am out of line here, you let me know. I'm no attorney. Yes.
If we could just sort of pause every minute so I can explain.
Okay,
And then-
thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
In the future, the county could be held liable to great expense, and I think our citizens would say, well, you didn't follow the law. And so that's my concern. North Carolina law has the code and the law there for a reason, for safety of our citizens. I'm not a big fan of regulations and codes and laws. However, I'm going to pause just for a second.
We'll take that quote for the paper there.
So I think we have the responsibility to follow the law, because that's what we have sworn to do. And so could that, I guess my question is there a potential that that could happen because we didn't follow environmental health law?
So to allow this, I went to Kurt, and to bring in the temporary housing, it would give some of the fixtures, the showers, the toilets in this temporary housing. Each one had 2, which is a little more than you would need for 2 families. And then, with the electrician coming through, and not only that, the plumber, the heat man, and different things to stop the sewer gas, all this would have to take place and make it safe before we would ever, allow them to stay.
Thank you.
Okay.
As Mr. Barrier states, we're responsible for the whole county, not just a small population of anybody in one section of the county, but at what point in this process does the architect, the electrician, Mr. AB, and the subcontractors, at what point do they become liable instead of the county?
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner, I wouldn't know the answer to that. I mean, in my opinion, it would be when they pull the permit.
Would it be possible to get a legal opinion from one of the two attorneys in here?
This is not a county building. So the county's responsibility is a very low bar for any risks that exist where someone is housed. When it, when there is an unknown condition, a hidden condition, a latent defect, so to speak, that you may be talking about with environmental issues, that's not the county's responsibility in a non-county building.
Thank you.
When licensed contractors, architects, electricians, plumbers, whomever, get involved and make a change or have a discovery of something at that point, that's between the contractor, subcontractors, and the owner of the facility. That's generally the way it works.
Other questions, comments?
I still got a question. I hate to keep going on. I guess my biggest thing is, what are we doing right now with the families? Because we're liable in any other way, as far as I see it and the way it seems like it's laid out here. What is the, where are these people going to go? Where are these people going to go? Well, Tommy, where are you going to go with your people as a pastor?
What you're asking him right now,
Yes.
where are they gonna go?
I mean, what we gonna do right now? Where can they stay right now? You got, other than the applications and stuff, I mean, what community members that are so much outpouring for you guys, and we love you guys, are gonna step up and help these people right now till this gets completed, however it's gonna get completed? Because we can't still keep going like we're going with this liability. And Tommy, you can speak just like you're speaking from your pulpit.
And it's so complicated, so I'm.
Yeah, I know, but I want you to speak freely, at your
And
heart.
my Marshallese is a little slow, so I have to change things around. I have to take a little while, some of that's too.
That's okay.
Con madre, en odan pare, e vai nei podo,
Just like they said,
nei podo chuanium per family go running dong ani. Em
They're gonna bring some temporary housing so
em nge
that the families can go stay there.
em en wada ba ri bar kachung apply nge eor chabro do wa win go me ri gunai gu me magut cheni bar pe kelen.
Just like they said, they're gonna bring some temporary just like they said, they're gonna bring some temporary housing for the people who have to move
Right.
while they're fixing it, and
I got
they're
that. We
also
understand
applying.
that. We got that so far. Tommy, do you speak in Marshallese when you're in the pulpit speaking to people, or do you speak
I
in
can
English?
tell you that, yes, he speaks in
always
Marshallese when
in-
he's in the pulpit, yes.
There's no other places in the community you speak just normal English at all? You always have to have an interpreter? I'm just asking, I don't know. I mean, do you have to have a Google Assist with you when you're in the
He's
restaurants
asking-
and stuff like that? Or can you communicate in a basic form, being from Arkansas and stuff?
Iskachitok ngay barwo jigin lo community kuch kujar wal kajin dale. Iskachitok ngay kuch kujar wal kajin dale kun kajin majo que pues balo pues ni kuchar y kuchar pues kamne kya pues kuchar wal kajin
Mo na kay mayo chicken charo i kay mayo. Em ni nang chet pi ba ro ju ka chung di ma mu da ti chine ne ka chung putin
In his house, he uses Marshallese. In the church, he uses Marshallese. And I've actually been these places, so I know it's true. Oh, like if there are some papers that come in English, he'll read them and then work on changing them into Marshallese when he's talking.
But you understand English and speak English. You are an interpreter yourself, correct?
basic skill.
Just still,
I think that it's.
that's
I mean,
all we want is basic. I'm a simpleton.
Well, I know that I speak some Marshallese. I'm not great at it, but I know that I would have a hard time doing the hearing in Marshallese, and I would want him here to help me.
Anyway,
And I would
don't
want
mean
to do
get
it in
off
English.
in all
so.
that. I just want to,
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about the group that's there now and how we're going to get them housed away from the liability that the county will hold. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Steve, I think where the disconnect we got here with some of us is, if I don't understand this right, now you correct me. The two apartments that we're gonna be, the two places we're gonna be working on, those folks are gonna be going to temporary housing in two different units behind the church in the old, outside the old lunchroom, the playground down in there.
Actually, it's one unit. There's two separate, there's two bedrooms and
So it's one unit with two bedrooms, kind of like,
two
okay.
bathrooms.
The other folks will still be staying in what was the old elementary schoolhouse, the long building there. They're gonna remain there, but while you work on them.
Pending an inspection and
Yes.
making it 100% safe.
So that's, am I right on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have an actual photo of the temporary housing if you'd like to see it.
Oh, no, I love
And-
temporary housing. I just
and-
want to make
and-
sure we
and
got enough
honestly-
for all of them.
And honestly, originally, I was gonna try to acquire 4 of these, which would house 8 families, which would take them all out of the building. But I was trying to keep the cost as low as possible, for the Marshallese people. Because, I mean, they have limited funds. We have plenty of funds. We could set up 4 units and that would take everybody out of the building at one time. So,
And those are like old Norfolk Southern Railroad,
That's what they are, yeah.
container units or something?
well, they're not a container unit. It's, can I approach? Sure. Yeah, yeah. They were built by Ford Norfolk Southern. They were mounted on flatbed rail cars.
What we lived in Iraq.
And, that's what they are. And, here's where some of them are packed on. And y'all probably familiar with this, where they're at. And, so, I mean, we could actually put 4 in there and take all the families out. It just, it's gonna be a little bit more cost because, the expense of purchase. And then, we would have to, when we finish, we would have to sell the units or dispose of them some way. And, because a lot of these are not gonna be able to be set up, Steve, are they? A lot of people I know are gonna try to get these things for permanent housing, that's not gonna work. So the more we purchase of them, we have maybe a difficult time, selling or getting rid of them. Yeah, do you have any more questions about that?
Well, I just want to say one more thing, Kurt. First of all, thank you, taking up the torch, trying to help people. I think we got a lot of people in the county like that all the way around. We want to help our people all the way around, and it takes people with ideas and solutions and things like that. We just want to move forward with the right solutions, and it's going to protect us and really gender, goodwill to everybody.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it right. But thank you for.
And thank you for considering this. And I understand Burke County's liability exposure. I understand, I'm in the insurance business. I know what liability exposure is. And, so I understand you're considering the families and what could happen and, potentially anything could happen. No one has control over that. All we can do is make it as safe as we can. So.
Other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Steve. All right, gentlemen, we've heard the information, we've received the documentation. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Risk insurance.
Does he have it? Is Kurt, just a added thing here, do you have builder's insurance?
I have builders insurance.
Risk insurance?
Yeah, I will take out something specific for this project, though.
Okay.
We'll schedule this project specific.
Okay.
Now, I do want to emphasize, just so there's no misunderstanding, and I put that in my proposal, that what we're trying to do is bring it up to minimum required code to make it safe, to take care of the electrical situation, the heating and air and the plumbing, sanitation. And, I'm really, I don't want you guys to think that when I get through, it's going to look like the Holiday Inn. It's probably not. Cosmetic work is not what the problem is. It's the, stuff to meeting code to make it safe. I think the Marshall East people are plenty adequate if they want to do painting and stuff like that, cosmetic type stuff. That's fine. We were just trying to get it up to where it would meet the county code and the safety issues, because I understand that your biggest concern is safety issues for the people. So there's where your liability exposure is at. So.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I'll make a motion to accept the documentation submitted by Mr. Kurt Abey on behalf of the Marshall East New Beginning Church, finding that it demonstrates some reasonable progress toward compliance with the board's April 10th, 2025 order, to amend the order to vacate, to extend the documentation and/or compliance deadline. And I would make that contingent on the work that Steve has mentioned, that these life safety matters be taken into account first, so that they can continue to remain in the building, those that will stay outside of the temporary housing, and that this whole project be done within 6 months.
The whole thing, okay, you mean all units?
Yes.
Okay, 6 months.
6 months.
Mr. Chairman, can we get a specific date in 6 months? I mean, is that 6 months from today, or what are you talking about?
It looks like about November say 14th to me, roughly. That's a Friday the 14th.
Mr. Holden, does that sound acceptable to you, sir? Yes, sir. 14 November 25? Mr. Chairman, I then make that motion that we do that.
Does that mean that the order to vacate is effective that day if it's not, permit's not pulled and it's brought to code?
Right.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Now, you were saying 6 months from today, but now, I think I put in my proposal that if we're going to move in temporary housing, get it all set up to move those families out, it's going to take just a little bit of time to get that set up done. So you know, that's really short, and you're saying 6 months, but probably gonna be at least 6 weeks before, that can be set up, moved in. They gotta be hooked to the sewer and hooked to we gotta get temporary power poles set up, everything to hook that up to get those people out, so, that's not, I mean, so that's gonna eat into that 6 months of refurbishing those units. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, during that time frame, can you be doing your electrical work to be, getting those units?
But we can do we can run the conduit and stuff on the back of the units and we can get part of it done. You know, until, we gotta get the people out, you know, before we start refurbishing those 2 units.
Right, yeah, I
And,
get it.
So,
But this other work, as Steve has mentioned, to get the electrical into a safe condition, that's gonna have to be done while those folks are.
that'll have to be done first. Yeah.
So, could some of that be accomplished while you're working on your housing, temporary housing?
But yeah, that can all be done at the same time. But I just want to make sure that, you know, we have enough time. I don't want to, you know, get 4, 5, 6 of them done and we hit a November 14th deadline. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah, I get it. I think the board's biggest concern is not getting back into wintertime and
Okay.
having all these unsafe potential with heaters and all that in the buildings.
Okay.
Mr. Holden, have you heard what's been going on up here? I mean, is all this acceptable to you? And could we, and I know when you get other contractors and real estate agents and electricians and everybody, they're gonna want to be first on the list, but are we, or can we, will we prioritize these folks so they can
Yes,
move
sir.
into their homes and be safe? I mean, prioritize them.
Yes, sir. We know that he may need inspections around the clock.
Any other comments before we take the vote?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Madam Attorney, if we do vote and, as the motion is stated, if something were to happen in this time period involving part of the structure that is not in code, are we not still legally responsible or potentially liable as a county?
If I understand your question, is the county responsible if something happens at this structure during the construction?
For the units that are not being worked on, where the families will continue to live, if a hazard still exists and there was loss of life or health, could the county still be potentially liable?
I think the county's liability exists if nothing is in process, nothing is being done. If this hearing didn't occur and y'all did not put conditions in place, that's the greatest risk. The lesser risk is the plan that's being proposed from the county's perspective. If the residents who are now currently living in this structure, knowing what the risk is, choose to remain there while this work is being done, they're assuming the risk, which offsets risk that the county has. The contractor becomes the insurer, not the county.
Correct. I understand that. So let's say 2 units are being worked on. I get that. There's families still living in the units that do not pass code. A horrible incident takes place in one of those units. I mean, from what I'm understanding you to say, that our liability is very low on that. I can't sleep at night. I got to tell you right now, I was sworn to uphold the law. I don't like that law, but I was sworn to uphold it. And if something were to happen, and if I knew that, and I voted right along and said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and extend this out of great care and compassion for these people, which we all have. But if something were to fire or somebody got hurt because of one of these hazards that still exist, even though we're trying to make it safer, I just don't know if I could sleep at night if something happened with these children in one of the units that are not being worked on. And I have to somehow have a clear conscience that legally, we're doing the right thing, that we're upholding the law as we're supposed to be upholding the law, according to North Carolina. I mean, it would be terrible in any situation if something like that happened. But if I knowingly didn't uphold the law by making a vote that said, we're going to extend this, I guess I'm looking for some peace of mind somehow legally, if that's possible.
So the responsibility of this board is to put in place what's reasonable, what are reasonable time limits, what's a reasonable plan going forward, and the determination of what is reasonable is up to this board. Certainly the parameters that would be unreasonable would be doing nothing. To eradicate all risk is virtually impossible, but to eradicate more risk would be to move everybody out while the work is being done. And if that's not feasible, then you determine what's reasonable under the circumstances.
And I just have one more comment, and I'll be quiet. Mr. Aby, thank you so much for what you're doing. If we vote and we, as the motion has been presented, to approve that motion, I would beg the community to help find more housing for these folks, whether it would find some campers like has been used for Hurricane Helene, find some more temporary housing. I just don't feel great about these folks continuing to live for 6 months and possibly longer in what could be unsafe conditions. So I just implore the community and for you, Mr. AB, seems like you have some resources for us all to try to continue to find additional places for these folks to live. That's my request. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna have to say too, with Brian, you know, I feel the same way. The original deadline in the terms of the order to vacate, I guess that's what I'm concerned about. How are we gonna take care of the people today? Where are they gonna go today when it takes however long we're gonna do this or whatever we're gonna do? But I just think I don't know, I don't have a peace about it. So anyway.
Pastor Tommy, and I hope you don't mind me not using your last name, but don't know that I can pronounce it. I'm a George Hildebrand boy too, and that might get a hold of me, but something the attorney said kind of struck at me there. Have you explained the responsibilities and the consequences of the folks living in there? Do they understand the predicament they're in, so they're not walking in with one boot on or blindly?
He says that he talked to them about everything, but they say it's a lot safer than the Marshalls. And so they want to stay. They're comparing it to what they've lived in elsewhere in the Marshalls. And it's safer. It's Jibalak, Jen Majo. Iti mo kay remalele kay Nevada kun electricity. Okay, and they know that if it if it wasn't safe, it became unsafe, then they could leave. But they know that right now they're safer than in the Marshalls.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask one thing to Mr. Holden and Mr. Aby. I know we don't want to put a timeline on the entire process because you said it'd take this many weeks to set it up and everything for the temporary housing. Can we get at least a temporary timeline for the first 2 units, taking into account the time it's going to get you to get those things set up?
Well,
So we don't have, I don't want to drag this into next new year.
yeah, no, I don't either. I'd like to do it as soon as possible. At whatever time.
Can't even do a timeline on the first 2?
Well, I think, to finish the first 2 apartments. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think, that's what, it's gonna take a little bit of time to get those units brought in, set up. I don't think it'll take long. I think we can do it within, a couple of days or a week. I just don't know about getting the temporary power set up and everything. I don't know, that
How long would
should,
that take, sir?
They could get a permit today, on our side.
Sir?
On our end, you get a permit today.
and I will say that, I didn't mean to talk over you there, Steve. I will say that, I understand y'all's biggest concern is the liability of the families still living in those apartments that have not been refurbished. I understand that. And, we have access, we can bring 4 units in. I think those units are on 100 amp service, and I think we probably have to have 2. We probably have 2 temporaries or 1 on that, Steve. I think 2.
2.
Probably 2. And then I want to make sure there wouldn't be a problem, with y'all if they can't find any other temporary housing, to bring 4 of those units that I just showed you in there, that would get everybody out of the building. That's what your concern is. And these buildings are, there's a reason they're called temporary housing, because they're pretty tight, and, it's not gonna be as roomy and as what they're used to, but I took Tommy, and, we went and looked at him and showed him, and he was tickled, and he said his people would be tickled to live in it, because he said they were used to just having a roof over their head, much less inside of a unit, so.
And I got no problem with just doing the 2 families or 2 units at a time. I don't mean move them all out and
Yeah.
get more units, but can you get 2 units up there maybe by close of business this Friday and get a permit drawn today for the electrical and everything you need for that?
Well, I have to talk to, these units, you don't pull them on a tray. I mean, you have to pick them up. They're made to pick up with a large forklift and set them on a flatbed or a load dock and
Yes, sir.
pull them in there. And then you have to have that same forklift to set them off and set them up. So they can be set up pretty quick. We have to tie them in the septic, and everything, so we can have, the gray water going in there. But, as long as the weather's pretty, I think we could get it pretty quick. I can't,
What's your estimate on that?
Yeah, so on ours, the permitting would be, as soon as he would pull the permit, we'd issue that permit, but, it'd be up to the workers and.
We'd have to set these temporary-
Contractor, the date
set-
of the timing.
we'd have to set the temporary power poles in. Rutherford Electric would have to get out there and energize.
And then, Commissioner, the minute they call me for an inspection, we'll make that inspection.
Okay.
But then we have to have our septic lines hooked up too, so, water lines hooked up to it, so it takes just a little bit of time to get all that hooked up.
Other question, comment? All right, don't think I heard any amendment to my motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would you mind just restating
Yeah.
your motion, please?
Thank you. My motion would be to accept the documentation submitted by Kurt Aby on behalf of the Marshallese New Beginnings Church, finding that it demonstrates reasonable progress toward compliance with the board's April 10th, 2025 order, and to amend the order to vacate, to extend the documentation and/or compliance deadline to November 14th, and that's with the understanding that the life safety matters will be dealt with immediately, and to allow those folks to remain while the renovations occur. Okay, with that motion, all those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 4-0. All right. That brings us to number 4, items to adjourn. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I so move we adjourn.
Those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 4-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's work on this matter, and we look forward to continued progress. Thank you.